Yeah, so there were a few technical issues um, with how the designs were fitting on top of these modules. And I'll go over those real quickly. I just had Houdini crash on me, so I'm having to open everything back up.
Okay. Um, I'm making you the presenter.
Okay, yeah,
to,
I see
to
that.
view the crash.
Let me see.
I trust you're saving files. And
Oh yeah, absolutely. I lost nothing in the crash.
so
I tried to do too much at once.
if you were to basically say, hey, like this new set of tools, is it an expansion of the existing tools, or is it a whole new set of tools with maybe the same stuff copied over again?
With what I've been working on the last couple weeks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Like in other words, if you've got a basic, your LOD2 building module, and then you go, okay, now I've added a feature that allows you to do LOD, features of articulation, the building corners, the balconies, the randomness of the windows, and are they all separate, like named modules? And do you just add them on to that thing and say, okay, now when I make my building, I just either activate all these things or I don't? Is that how it works, or are you just building one giant thread, one giant string of
I
command?
think I think I understand your question, and I'll let me show you what goes down under the hood, and I think you can get a better understanding of what's going on.
Okay.
Um, let me. I'm trying to see. There was one area. I'd done a couple things before it had crashed, and that was the other thing I did. Perfect. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate what I have right now, and then I'll talk about some of the issues that I've solved.
Okay.
And basically, I think where we're at now is with the current designs that we have, can be nearly applied to almost any building type. I've been testing them. There's still, I think, one or two issues I got to sort out, but it's nothing major.
Okay.
So let's take a look. Yeah, I just got it pulled up. So right here is an example of one of the building. You all have actually not seen, this is a modern type 2 design. Gerhard had wanted the balcony walls to be flush with the rest of the walls, as well as a couple different window designs. Still want to talk to Gerhard about this one just to see, hone in exactly what we want. But this is pretty much just a very simple design, and it has also a door option. So if I were to say make doors at the top, it just gets rid of the balconies, slides the doors down to ground level. But what we've got here, what's awesome about this is that we now have it to where with different floor plans, we can pretty much go in, change the floor plan, and whatever design, whatever choices we have, slides right into it.
Oh,
Fits
that's
all the
cool.
way around.
So
Um,
the modern template, at least when you push modern button, modern one, right? Um, is this particular mix of textures where you can change the geometry bases on any of them with it. Is that am I viewing that correctly?
I think so. Right here's the control. So how you had um, the spreadsheet lined up, right, was by floor bases. Like you had bottom floor residential, using the bottom shape, middle
Mhm.
floor, this particular office shape, and so on. And so the controls over here are pretty much the same way. If I wanted to say, for the top floor, I'm using the top placement. That's the floor height, and residential, retail, office, all of that. If I wanted to change the modern style, back to that modern one, and there we go. Now we have something more like that. Um,
And if you want to
and then
pull
it
in
changes
the
around.
say that the extension that you have on the first floor, if you want to make that smaller, like that seems kind of large. Like that's something Gerhard might go, oh, that's too big for a U.S. city, in Culver City or whatever. Um, can you change that particular feet? Not the height, but
You mean
the
the size of the floor plan?
I just mean those extensions, those ledges that come out like these things. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that goes along with this particular style. It was one of the workarounds, and I'll explain that briefly in a minute. But
I mean,
we
maybe it looks
can
great. Maybe I'm just wondering if you can
no,
change.
no, that is something that can easily be changed. It's something that's probably we don't want to give control over to the user because that gets
No.
more into like designing. But once, let's say we show this to Gerhard, Gerhard's like, okay, I'm not happy with an 8 feet extension. What was that? Yeah, that's an 8 foot extension. Let's make that 5
Okay.
just to see what happens. And and then we settle with that, and that's the new extension
Okay.
that comes
Great.
over. I think
Great.
got a glitch there with the balcony, but I can fix that really easily.
Peter, what do you think, Peter?
Um, Definitely, it's a better visual for me because the other one was a little bit kind of jarring because the transition between the floors was a little bit kind of um, abrupt, and that's the reason why I keep asking about transition, whether it can be smoother or
Yeah, you were talking about this one.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
this,
no, that was just the design I was working off of. And if we were to use this one, this is probably one of the ones that I'd say full residential, because that
yeah.
that would probably be along the lines of like,
Yeah, because when you mix it and it just doesn't blend in, it looks so kind of out, kind of not. But that's a design thing altogether. But it comes back to the whole thing where for you, it has to be kind of adaptable to any kind of floor plan, and that's probably your biggest challenge right now. As for the design, we can always tweak it, and given the weird corners that Gerhard tends to go to when you're trying to kind of fit some sort of footprint into like a very awkward shape and stuff like that. That's what I'm more concerned about, how your tool is able to adapt to those kind of very unusual geometry, and that's probably the one really kind of thing for me is right now is how well you adapt to all those unusual geometry.
yeah, absolutely. And that's been what I've been working on recently, and that's where I wanted to show the progress. Um, Kevin, it's going to be kind of hard to articulate what was really going on
I mean, look,
without pulling up
you
another
don't have to.
instance.
You don't have to. It's not a big deal. I don't want to get into the design stuff
Yeah,
and the geometry features because I just don't. To me, it. My bar is. Can I tell that it's a retail base with showroom windows? Yes. Can I tell? Can I look at that and say that can easily pass as a residential, some apartments with some balconies, or even some business office space with some modern features? Yes, that's all I'm looking for with like a rooftop
okay.
that has some articulation and some uniqueness, and all the roofs don't look the same, and throw those in there because the goal is to see that's part of a low density building solution. So the first plan we're going to go with is this low density plan where it's just basically a destination, right? Where people go to do retail shopping or go to the, Warby Parker glass store or whatever, and then there's a bunch of residential units there that people can live in, and it's a low density place, so it's really desirable for the city, but not desirable for the bank account. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to have you build is we're going to have you make all this big, right? And that's going to be a high density concept that we'll start working on. And then what we want to do is show show the low density and say, here's one extreme and here's the other, right? I mean, short of putting a park in or putting a giant,
Yeah.
Amazon warehouse. This is a high density where we can, we're 3,000 people residential. I mean, right there, there's only probably 45 residential units in there, or maybe less, right? Probably even less. It's 2 stories. Maybe that's 30 units, right? And it's not really. It may not be. it may not be profitable. Like if you crunch the numbers, right, and go, okay, I'm making X amount per unit and I got a construction cost and all that. But if you say have 7 floors, because maybe the limit in California is 7, so we move that thing up to 7, and so the middle section is 7, let's just say, or the, like that, and go, all right, well, here's a high density building, and it's got some, the same articulation. This is going to house 240, 122 families or something.
Yeah.
So, but the numbers work now because your cash flow is so much, your rent is so much higher, your subsidy, whatever it is, your economics work. But here's what the city wants. City is like, I don't care. I want that because I want it to be a downtown, 1950s feel, right? We want an old town feel like Pasadena or something, and make your big buildings elsewhere. So we want to show that that's where it's really the broad scenarios. And I think we accomplished that with these buildings because you can change them. You just did it. You just added 8 floors, add 13 floors. I mean, this is kind of what Don's looking at, or like he's looking.
I mean, the default's going to be retail, but all of that can be changed.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. We'll just pretend like those are glass apartments, right? So that's what you need to show the city and go, are you guys good with this? Because these are like giant buildings. Are you good with it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's some good things that happen with it, but is that what you want in your city? And that's what Don wants, but that may not be what they want, right? And there's a lot of issues there. You got to have parking and all that. So I'm not going to get into the planning. Peter, I mean, can you change, like, can you make that into 2 separate buildings? Ethan, can you, if I were to say, look, make this into 2 separate buildings, Ethan.
Make this into 2 separate buildings.
Yeah. So you could make.
No.
This is one footprint, Kevin. You can't do that.
Right. Okay. So you got one footprint, but you've got like this middle section you lowered is. Oh, it went away.
Yeah, it's working off of this footprint,
okay,
and then going off of this.
Yeah, that's
the footprint drives the whole thing. You
right.
Can't
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's more of a modern building look. Like maybe the middle section is where the elevator is, and it's a hallway or something, right? And then those are the maybe it's a hotel, right? Like maybe that could pass as a hotel, the way it kind of looks. So, can you change colors on this? Can you make it that darker shade that Don likes to use, as opposed?
That is something I also, once I get the traditional designs made, that way we have several different options to choose from. I'm thinking like your spreadsheets had 4 different color options for each building or something, or each design. Maybe going over some different color options. So just like a drop down, like it would say, something like color, and you'd have 4 options like off-white, dark, blue, whatever. And just having different options for each one. And I think that's the next step. And I've integrated that to be really easy because now the materials are actually added after the entire building is built. So let me just drop this back down to like 5. That way we're just working with something a little easier.
Yeah. I don't even think you could build that in California. I don't think you can do it.
No.
With the codes. I don't even think they let you do it. That's my gut feeling. I mean, don't you think so, Peter?
Yeah, we're going to get away with that one.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put a cement base after 8 floors, and you got to get all the wood and everything. You can't. It just won't pencil out. It'll cost $20 million, $40 million.
As Gerard say, at some point when you start building it too high, then your costs kind of extrapolate from having more concrete. Concrete means more money, and more money means more expensive.
Yeah, it means you gotta wait longer for your money to come back. So, Okay, so there's
So
3 floors. Okay.
yeah, so what's happening here is that the building is actually built beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
like this right here. And if I do like a little bit of wire, you can see no color. And then we isolate the colors with this huge menu, this ever expanding library. But if we were to say, I think something like this, yeah. So we start to isolate the walls and isolate those specific colors. So that's that off-white. Um, that's more of that brown color, and then it all gets put together. After that, reassembled just like that. And so what's over here in the blue is more of like hard set colors. Like usually if I know like this is always going to be a dark metal, then this will always be, that dark metal, and it's separated as so. But the changeable colors, the ones over here that I think we would want to play with, um, is stuff like this. So we can have a couple different options over here and say, okay, we isolate this alternate wall color, and then we can say if we like white and brown or white and whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
it's applied afterwards, and the reason I'm telling you that is just because that means we're going to have quicker color changes. The changes between different building structures and different types might take a little longer than colors. The colors should happen in an instant almost.
Okay. Um, do you have any sort of workflow time now that knowing with the current module, and you can get a footprint, you can bring it in and you can build it with the right information? Do you have an idea how long that would take you to kind of make it, and then I think build it, and then I'm wondering if we have to test it, right? Like to
Yeah,
see if the geometry is okay to be a GLB
and
file that's useful in the streaming process, or
mhm.
can we just go straight from here to to have Peter load it?
Yeah, so I think for the workflow, if we're talking about making a specific design, right now I'm getting closer to pinpointing that down. I want to say if I'm overestimating, I want to say 1 day per design, like a full work day for one specific design. I'd like to shorten that, to be quite honest. But what that includes is the tool is already set here, and so what that includes is that's making the main portions of the walls for each design. We'd have to make the main portion of the wall, um, and then modules for like the corner designs of the walls, right here. Modules for the caps of the wall,
Mm-hmm.
right here, as well as specific modules for concave uh, corners versus convex corners, the ones that kind of like dive in. I know this building doesn't have it, um, but something like I know, yeah, on right here where the building kind of like comes in instead of jutting out. That's a different module. So we're having to make at least one of each of those, usually more because of course we want to vary up. We don't want just the same door module repeating. We usually create one door, one window module, maybe another uh, window module right here, a separate module for balconies, and doors, and so on. So that's creating those designs. Um, and I think that's it. Right now I've tried to solve issues where what if we have walls that are so small that no module can actually be fitted into it, which is actually what happens. Um, Now, if we have a wall like this, no module gets stamped on and it looks really nasty. And so I've worked, that's part of my progress that I wanted to update today was we now have a way that kind of works around it by using the same methods that we used with LOD1 buildings, and it kind of just fuses that together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only other thing that I think could lengthen the process is stuff like this um, balcony/parapet combo, which is too difficult of a design to actually be incorporated with a module process. So right now I've kind of created like this offset beta. It's a work in progress for modules that have designs that wrap around the entire building and jut out significantly enough that it doesn't make sense to really stamp out specific wall modules. It makes more sense kind of just to like wrap it around and make it its own thing. And I've devised a way that it knows which, because this is the Hempstead Lot 33 retail design. So I've created a way that it knows which floor is using that design, and if it uses that design, then this balcony parapet combo gets stamped onto it. So if we have something, a design like that, where we have something that wraps around the entire building, and it's a little trickier to work with, especially with rounded walls, corners that are not 90 degrees, and so on, then that might lengthen the process. But other than that, when it comes to designing a module, I have this library right here. We decide if it's commercial, office, or residential. And then once we figure out which one it is, so I chose the residential design, I make another block right here, and I kind of just model it out, and I create an entire system. And once I feed in the geometry and the specific data that it needs, I mean, simple stuff like saying, you know, this is wall 1, this is wall 2, and so on. Just being able to differentiate those, it's just that simple data. And once that's created, it feeds in to here, and that gets pumped into the tool, into this big orange block. That's pretty much what builds the buildings themselves. And then this control panel dictates which floor uses those particular modules. And once we have that, I mean, we have the building. So I'm starting to pinpoint that down. It was really trying to work around those obstacles, but now that we've got workarounds for that, we're starting to put those in place and create better designs. And of course, roofs are another option. I'm trying to simplify that and make that a little easier, and maybe more random based off of whatever data we want to feed it. But roofs have its entirely own system right here with a prototype tool that I made. So yeah, that's
how many different roofs can you make now?
We're still on the 2. I've not
Mm-hmm.
went back on and tackled it, because right now we still have just the basic sedum and then the garden design right here, which is overly saturated.
Mm-hmm.
But we can, there we go, perfect, just like that. And it comes with, I mean, of course, again, we don't want to give the user all these different design choices, but it shouldn't be hard to write out an algorithm that'll be like, take in the specific area of the roof, create a object grid that will distribute these gardens, a random probability for where trellises go, a random seed for all of that. So shouldn't be that hard. But right now, that's where we're at. I think the next one will be the recreational space. Here, we'll just pop out, and that way we can see the whole building. We got the recreational space and dining and lounging. But what's tricky for that is where it's not module based, each roof needs its own system. So like this orange thing, all of those nodes you see there are what comprise the garden module that you see right here, this garden roof type. When we're using the basic sedum, I believe we're switching to just these simple ones right here. And it's a little simpler just because we're just dealing with grass and triangles like that. But when we start to work with recreational spaces and dining and lounging, it's going to be its own system. So it's going to take a while to build that out, but it just depends on where our priorities are right now. I feel like within the last couple of weeks, we've been wanting to focus on designs and making sure that these buildings can actually be built no matter what floor plans we throw at it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we've at least accomplished the latter. There's a couple technical bugs that I'll iron out tonight, and then in terms of designs, I'm working on that as well, and that'll be a never-ending progress until we see fit that we've built a library that we're happy enough with.
So could you let me okay, keep this saved and let
Oh
me
yeah,
show you
everything's saved.
um let me show you this is what I'd like to do. This is what I'd like to do if it's possible tonight. Okay. So let me just show you the V&A scene we have here that Peter's put together. So we took the buildings that you provided, Peter, and we put together a scene that adds those buildings along with the existing structures. They're just all coming in now, and it's always a little slower on Zoom or GoToMeeting for some reason. It's like the graphics goes a little slower. So let these guys load. As you can see, all the rooftops right now are the same.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is the building that you've been working on, I think is it this one here?
That's the one that you all have been wanting to see. Yeah.
I think so, right? This is the building. I believe it is. Okay.
Yes.
So
yes, that is.
So what I'd like to do is right now what we have is I believe, and Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, we have two different versions here, right? We have a 0 and a 1. Is that correct, Peter?
Yep.
Okay. So we want to create a 2. It says lower quality, but disregard that. So we want to create one of the buildings you've been showing us with these features, okay, as another building here. So I'd like to change it. So what I'd like to do is be able to show this building and then show the LOD, 3 version of that, right? Like we got the LOD 2. This is an LOD 2, and we'll work on the lines and the floors. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 floors total. And that means that the floors are, it's building 0401 in the design plan. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's got a base of kind of a retail base or a shopping base. And then there's 2, 3, 4, 5 like residential floors that go up over it. And if you could and so the origins of this building are actually in a spreadsheet. Okay, they're in an actual spreadsheet that Gerhard has produced that provides all the this is one of the spreadsheets we're using, which is just basically all the building information. Okay, it's just popping up now. So this is 0401. This is the one we're working on. So this is the information he gave us for the building, which is one bottom floor. Now he says he's got 13 floors there, and we're not going to do that. We'll just do 6 floors right now because that's what we have.
No, that's a 13. That's 13 feet high for the first floor.
Oh, I'm sorry, height. Right. So 4 floors. So it's 5 total, 5, and then I think a 6.
A
4.
6.
So
and
a total of
he
6.
also gave me the types, because he gave me this spreadsheet, but he added the floor types too, because the building that you see on Zoom right now is full residential.
Okay. So I just want to make a Houdini version of it so I can show the 2 versions.
Okay.
And that would really be productive. And it's just one building to load. Peter can bring it in. We can show it off. The question I have for you, Peter, is if I want to show that building and you've got it loaded, you've got it loaded here, okay, as this number 2, right? You got a 0 and you got a 1 and you got a 2. And I want to show it. Do I have to use this or can I click these things? Like, can you click this and will it show the building?
No.
It doesn't. It
you just have to switch in the menu item that you want to view only LOD ones.
Right. So we'll just make a new. We'll just do one where this building isn't there and the other building is there. Okay. And um, what is that? Oh, this was because I was clicking these guys. Um, these we'll just have a bookmark here that we'll click and we'll change it. Okay. So
Okay.
so if you could make that building, because I know you showed me some really nice versions, and then
Yeah.
I'll turn mine off and give you the screen back. Maybe we can sign off on one now really quickly, and then you
Yeah,
can.
perfect. Let's do that.
Peter needs to look at it and go, okay, is this thing? I'm going to replace this building with this building. There we go. Is that the
Yeah,
one
so
we
we're
want to show tomorrow, Peter? Is that the one you'd like to show? You think? Do you want to test
Yeah,
that
if
one, or
you
do you
send
want
me
to?
the list, if you send me the list of all this building with their ID, I can do a LOD3 and just switch it out. It takes me about 45 minutes to do it.
Okay. Okay. So can you do that for Peter, Ethan?
what are you wanting exactly, Peter?
What you sent me before, the GLB files with their file name as the ID of the building. Remember you sent me the GLB files and it has all the Gerhardt's naming convention.
Yeah.
And if you do exactly the same thing, I can do one more layer called LOD3, and I can just place it in, because all the geometry location is all there. I just have to make sure the file name of what the GLB file you sent me matches it exactly without having to do any kind of orientation. It just place it exactly where it is.
Okay, then I'll separate because I assume you want me to make just a couple different buildings. That way you can choose which one you like.
I mean, sure, yeah.
So what I'll do is then I'll when I share the Dropbox link with you, they'll all have the same file names. They'll just be separated by folders. Does that work with you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So
Then
Peter can bring it in, and we can kind of show like this is the kind of design we're working on for our LOD3, and let everybody see it in context with the LOD2s that we have. So, I mean, I don't think that's very attractive from a. I think you.
Oh no, this was.
I think you can make it. You know, you can make it a little bit more interesting, but also loadable. Like maybe the pink and brown colors aren't as effective.
Yeah.
Maybe you can manipulate and make a more neutral color, like a brown and gold.
Well, this is also. I think this is also the Hempstead design because we're working with that. If we're working with the same retail design, we can take a look at that. Let me just.
And we will get back onto Hempstead. I spoke to Lou today, and I mean, at some point that thing's going to get active. Right now, we don't. I mean, I think we need to finish that lot 33, but I think it's more important to make a couple of samples here for San Bernardino so we can show how we change out a building. It'd be a good step.
So if we're looking at the same design going all the way up, that's the Hempstead 33, and we can adjust placement and colors if need be. This is the.
This is 0104. The building we're talking about is San Bernardino 01.04, I think, or 0401. Is it 0401 or 0104? I gotta look at the scope plan. Now let me look at the plan here. It's
Yeah, 0401, I believe.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to load here. Yeah, it's 04.01. Okay. So let's just play with that floor, with that building right now, because we can get some ideas as to how the LOD3s look and give us a feel for what we're going to be adding and how we're going to make variations and so on. So it's a retail at the bottom and 5 residential. It looks like, right? Isn't that what he asked for? Is it 5 residential or a roof?
I thought he asked for all of it residential. Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure he asked for all residential because that was the color coding system that he gave me.
Yeah, a building that's in the initial heights one or the building parameters one? In the initial heights named file, right? Yeah, the initial heights is The bottom has one, the middle has 4, and the top has 1, and it all equals 6. But he doesn't give me types in this file. I only have, that's the only information I have. Is it's 6 floors.
Yeah, hold on. I can pull that up if you give me a second. I gotta find
Oh,
the.
sure. Okay.
I believe this might be it.
I thought he had another file he called parameters for Bruce. I have them. Yeah, parameters for Bruce.
So
Yeah, that's
that in.
Houdini parameters. Okay.
So if we're looking at 0401, yeah, that's residential for bottom, middle, and top.
Oh, here we are. He added a floor use folder column. Okay, so it's all Okay, make the whole thing residential. That's fine. I want it exactly as he asked for it.
Okay.
So that'll be easy.
I'll do a couple residential designs, and if you want, I can also do a retail on the bottom and then residential going
you know
up.
what? He's not asking for it. I don't want to build something he's not asking for. Let's just do residential. Make it simple. We'll deal with the next build. Let's get through this first building, and then we'll deal with the next one.
Yeah.
And
Understandable.
if you could send me that spreadsheet, it'd be great, because I do not have that one with the added columns.
Yeah, I believe I have it in the email. Let me.
Yeah, maybe he sent it and I didn't download it. So just forward me the email.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do that right now.
I got it. I just didn't open it. So that's like, even right there, that residential building, that's really a nice color. I mean, maybe Don will freak out if he sees it as pink, right? He might go, that's ridiculous. Nobody makes pink buildings. How would you do pink? But
I guess that is pink, yeah.
I guess I see it as pink. Maybe you see it as a different. What do you see color? What color do you see there, Peter?
What, the building site?
Yeah, the building you're looking at. What color is that to you?
Kind of off beige.
Oh, so you don't see any of the red in there?
No, I do not see any red.
Oh, it's weird. Are you seeing any red, Ethan?
I think I see it now that you're saying it. Yeah. Let me.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, now that you mentioned it, I mean, it looks it. I think you may be correct, because if this is what I think it is, yeah, that was the eggshell color I was going for.
That's okay. I just saw yellow. I did see yellow, like there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yellow. It's not as yellow, but just kind of off white,
like
kind
dirty
of
yellow. Yeah. I mean, that's a Culver City look, right? That's you can make it if you want. Just do it all one color, or you could maybe, you could alternate colors or make a polka dot one. Like maybe make one modern, but make one really modern, right? Which is just more variation. That's all. And use those two. That's it. Just use those two. And then we can talk about density. We can talk about how many people got to go in, is going to live in there, just to get some referencing done. Because that's the biggest, that's what everybody needs, is they need to look at the same thing and understand that they're going to be referencing it. But I like that. I think it looks great. Peter, what do you think? As a residential building, you think that's a good,
I wish you could do like maybe a sun that kind of gives it some ambient light and stuff like that. That's just kind of wishy-washy kind of.
Is that done from Ethan's side, or do we do that on the Bruce side?
I think it's both.
That would be on Bruce's side. It makes no difference to do ambient light, and that I mean, I'm doing pretty much a floodlight right now because I can play with shadows and make it look really good on my end. But once we pop it into Bruce, then we're using that render engine. We're using Cesium. We're using everything that Bruce has to offer, and it's just going to look different.
Yeah, let's just see what happens when we look at it in Bruce. Let's figure it out when we put it in there. We might find that it gets washed out. We might find that it goes darker. We don't know. We just got to look at it in Bruce and figure it out. So,
usually what happens is Bruce will make the colors darker. So when I send these to Peter, I'll try to make the colors really, really bright on my end, like kind of like that, I guess, and we'll see how it translates.
Yeah, do it. I mean, if you've got to submit the buildings the way you think they need to be submitted, do that, because we need to make a pipeline. The first pipeline is to put all these buildings in to this scene, and I think we're on our way now. Now at least we can do the same thing that GGLO did and have a bunch of similar buildings. Just fill it up with all these buildings. But we can do more than that now. We can add new features and we can make it, pretty, I just want it to load fast. So, but I like that. I think that design is really nice and, I like it. I don't really care if Don doesn't like it because we're just trying to communicate. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that looks really good. I think that's to me, that's a perfect demo building right now for what we're looking for. Don't you think so, Peter?
Yeah.
Well, Peter, I mean, you saw how long this took me to make. No time at all. Exporting it is the same thing. No time at all. So what I can do is after this meeting, I'll come up with a couple designs. I may even mix up some of the choices right here and see what we can do. Use what you want, and if there's something you want to see, shoot me an email. Just be like, hey, can we maybe look at this color or maybe use this design with this particular instance, whatever. I'll do it. I don't care. It's just, it's a couple clicks for me, couple color changes, so it's no big deal.
Looks great. Okay, I think I'm good. We got an action item. We have a call tomorrow, so we'll show it tomorrow. And anything else from you, Peter?
Nope.
Okay, great. Hey, thanks so much, Ethan. Thanks for the update. Tools look really good. We'll do the call tomorrow and we'll show it off, and maybe I'll be able to do a little presentation to the gang over at Placeworks tomorrow afternoon.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Bye.